after party. After party. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors Episode 30. Joining us live, we're going to be talking Web3 music today. I am David Karoma, your guest, your host, and I go by Chrome in the metaverse. Thanks for joining us here today. Really excited about the conversation. One of my favorite topics when looking at Web3 and looking at blockchain is music. And really, it's kind of what hooked me in outside of the gamer, which everyone who's listened to this podcast knows I come from kind of the gaming space, and the metaverse really kind of pulled me in. But I think what's kept me here is the culture. And I have to give credit to Low Sleazy for this quote, but he said once that crypto is hip hop and hip hop is crypto. And I think from that kind of understanding of the real underground kind of economy and, you know, kind of side hustle element that NFTs and the blockchain really kind of present, it resonated with me. So today I'm really excited to have Hakim Draper here as our guest host, a music and tech executive with a very impressive resume and some pretty ambitious plans for music in Web3. So welcome, Hakim. Thanks for joining us today.
And thanks for having me, David. Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I tend to agree with Lowe's sentiment there that you know, crypto is hip hop and hip hop is crypto for sure.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So before I get to your amazing projects and what you're working on there, I was going to share a little bit of how I think music is going to be impacted, or already really is being impacted by the blockchain and by NFTs, really, right? So as anybody who's kind of familiar with the music industry knows, there can be a lot of kind of not very above board transactions and agreements, and a lot of predatory kind of behavior from the labels and really a lot of different actors within the industry, unfortunately, because there is so much money to be made off of successful music acts, right? And in the past, it's always been kind of the goal for musicians to get onto a label that's going to pay them big monies and help them get their tours going and really be able to get that business side of things off the ground for them. But with that, they gave up a lot of ownership of their own creations, right? They gave up a lot of ownership around, even in some cases, their own name and likeness, as we know with Prince, who had to change his name to the artist formerly known as Prince after, you know, being kind of pulled around by his record label, right? It's just one of many, many examples. So looking at blockchain, looking at NFTs, the peer-to-peer transactions and the smart contracts together, I think are going to allow for a really big shakeup and a revolution in the music industry specifically. At Web3 Warriors, we always talk about, the creator economy or even the service economy and how the blockchain is really revolutionizing it. But I would argue that maybe in no other sector will it be felt more than in the music industry, just because there are so many middle people that really it's their bread and butter to be middle people. And in many cases, because of peer-to-peer transactions and because of smart contracts that are going to allow you to kind of attach your music to a much broader purpose and a much broader community, and be very intentional about why you're putting out music. It's really changing things, I would say, for the better, and it's going to be really exciting to talk to Hakim about many different angles beyond that. So with that, I also want to say welcome to anybody who's joining us from the live stream in the Twitch. We would love to get any questions you might have, any inquiries around music and Web3, or during the conversation, if anything piques your interest, feel free to ask. And we do also pull at random for NFT giveaways, anyone from the chat. So if we get a good conversation going, you might win yourself an NFT. So just going to put that out there. And thanks for joining us. And yeah, so music and Web3, I could probably talk about it for the full hour, but I really want to pick Hakim's brain. I know you're a busy guy, and it's really awesome to have you here. So to be able to get that kind of full 360 view of the music industry, having kind of come from the music industry, still working in it, and rubbing shoulders with a lot of awesome artists and a lot of industry people, I think it's a really interesting kind of angle to be able to take on this topic. So again, very grateful. So without further ado, Hakim, maybe before we get into a lot of your projects and what you're working on, you could just share with us, how did you get into Web3, from the music industry, and what's kind of inspired you to take this angle? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate everybody listening. And yeah, so look, I'll go over sort of how I wound up in Web3 and my history all in sort of one whirlwind real quick. I'm third generation music industry, which only means that I'm third generation hard-headed, of people who have been taken advantage of for some of their successes. But I've also fiercely been artist advocate and artist educator for the entirety of my career. So my grandfather toured the big band circuit, recorded with Jelly Roll Morton. My father composed with Coltrane, and toured with Max Roach and Jackie McLean in the jazz world. I grew up, as a very young kid, hanging out in recording studios with him and the guys he used to like to party with, like Mick Jagger and Jethro Tull and all these guys.
Nice.
And
just partying with Mick Jagger, no big deal.
Yeah, not at an age. There's a famous picture my mother has somewhere of my father and Mick Jagger trying to figure out how to change my diaper. That gives you a perspective of my age during that era.
There you go.
So, I don't obviously have a ton of memory from that, but I grew up around all of this stuff in the industry, and then of course, having witnessed all of that, my mother was a little concerned. So she pushed me to pick something else that I was passionate about. And at the time I was really passionate about what was happening in computing and all of this stuff. And so I studied computer science and worked in the Silicon Valley until the bottom fell out the first time. And when it did, the dot-com bubble and all that, when it did, I opened up a recording studio. And then just off of sort of word of mouth and reputation, I've built up catalog. I collaborated with my now longtime business partner, David Lotwin, who is one of the founders of D&D Studios. Collectively, we've really helped to empower and educate a lot of artists to not only achieve tremendous success, but do it in a way that gives them the leverage and understanding of where their rights and their influence and their ID and all of these other things come into play in these contracts, and how to make sure that you're negotiating for ownership of your identity and your masters. So we've done that for 30 years collectively, each of us. The D&D Studios has such a long history, DJ Premier and Gangstar and Jay-Z and Nas, and everybody recorded there. And then on our side,
legends,
we did
the New York legends.
Yeah, right. And then on our side, we did a bunch of artist development and strategy, early stage breaking strategy to help sort of establish sustainable tour finance ecosystem. and marketing strategy and artist development for a handful of artists that wound up into the Warner ecosystem, including like Wiz Khalifa, John Legend, Bruno Mars, 21 Pilots, Hunter Hayes, bunch of, we're genre agnostic as a collective. We just love good music, and we
That's what's
love to
up.
collaborate with people who really love to make music.
And I think you've got that
And
jazz
so,
background, right? So jazz is eclectic
yeah,
stuff, you can't judge. You just know good
yeah,
music. You know good music when you hear
yeah. And so
it.
from there, I built this company over 10 years or so. And then one day Warner wanted to buy my company because a bunch of the artists that we had been developing and educating, and this is a key part of this, wound up in the Warner ecosystem with pretty favorable deals, especially for the time that they were signing those deals. And I think we might have been becoming a little bit of a thorn in their side. And so the easier play was to come try and buy our catalog. And I was, a little younger. I didn't totally see it coming.
Mm.
Um, I took the deal and I sold the catalog, and then I worked at Warner for 4 years doing some special projects. I helped them launch a new division, and then during that time, this is 2011 to 2012, really to 14, 15, right in there. During that time, I was really I was learning about blockchain. I was learning a lot about blockchain from some of the other people that I was moving with. And I was really trying to get them to do something with this technology. Ignore everything that's going on with cryptocurrency for a minute. The underlying technology of blockchain and what that could really facilitate in an ecosystem like this that generates billions of dollars and constantly is in
Right.
question of whether money is getting to the appropriate people. There is a really easy, transparent solution for all of this if you actually want it. And they didn't go for it, and I got tired of trying to sell them on it, so I left. In January 2016, I left and teamed up with David Lawin and my other partner, Jerry Davis, who's a former head of music at Fox Sports Television
Oh, wow.
for 16 years. And, I dragged them along with me into this Web3 sort of blockchain journey. And our first project
2016.
was, yeah, so
Wow.
2016, and our first project was a collaboration with the Old Dirty Bastard estate. And his widow, Iceline Jones, and his son, Young Dirty, who is an amazing talent. If you're not familiar with Young Dirty Bastard, please look him up, follow him. You're going to be familiar. He's part of Wu Tang now.
No doubt.
He's actually through this whole journey we took. So that project was a 3 year, experiment for us to look at how, the goal was to identify, can you tokenize an artist's fan base without, and this is the key, without cannibalizing all of the existing revenue as technology had historically done. Every time innovation came into the music space, it was at the expense of the artist revenue first.
Right.
and most, right? And deepest. So, what I wanted to see was, how is there a path to do this in which you don't damage the existing sort of Web2 revenue framework, because you need every dime of that to continue to sustain. But if you can tokenize this ecosystem and create its own sort of internal economy within this fan base, and this is Old Dirty Bastards, Wu Tang's huge, right? It's a global footprint. The
Right.
participants we had were everywhere, all over the world. And so that, a couple of key milestones in that. For one of the first projects, we did a bunch of lobbying. We introduced the use case of a token as a utility into the Senate Finance Committee hearings through our lobbying efforts. It was at the first stage when everybody was talking about how everything was going to be regulated. No, it's not. It's not. The sky's not falling either. So, but we did have to, because they're so uninformed, we did have to literally go out and lobby and educate and interject the use case of like, hey, here's how a token is used as a utility. Now that's not a security. So you can't say all tokens are securities.
Right.
And that was our only premise. And then off of that, we were one of the first projects to be listed on the SEC's Edgar database. And that was like 2016, 2017, when we did our sale on that. So it was a really interesting thing, because the other side of this for me was I wanted to know if there were paths to compliance, what those hurdles look like. And, I mean, that barrier, for two reasons. One, because they're so uninformed, and two, because that ecosystem is so corrupt, is expensive. You're just paying for influence. That's all you're doing in the
Well,
political
yeah.
realm.
I
Lobby.
mean, don't get me started on paying for influence. Trying to run a
Yeah,
podcast, it's like people don't take you seriously unless you're paying for influence, you know?
right. I mean, this is, again, it's an extension of the lobbying mechanism. Right? The entire social media construct now is an extension of what happens in politics and lobbying. And so, it was interesting. So look, we launched that token. It was fantastic. It was, we had this whole strategy. We did a whole bunch of outreach. We went into a bunch of cities and taught these programs where we brought in all the supplies, and we taught a bunch of kids basically how to build a Bitcoin miner.
Wow.
And then at the end of the class, they would take it home. They would get their own Bitcoin miner as part of the class.
So out of that class, I have to ask,
right?
Have any of them stored their Bitcoin and hodled it?
Yeah. I've been in touch with a number of them. There are some that literally own businesses and
Nice.
operate independently, and were able to, one that was a freshman in high school when he started, and by the time he got out of high school, he, obviously the discussion of college for him was a moot with his parents, because he went, well, here's my finances. What do yours look like?
That's beautiful. I just got goosebumps. That's what it's all
You
about.
know what I mean?
So you've been on the ground. You've been on the ground onboarding these people and kind of being the evangelist for blockchain.
And trying to find creative ways to empower people to want to educate and empower other people, right? And so, and interesting. Look, at the end of this, as part of that whole program, we took some of the proceeds off of this whole mining operation that we were helping to scale out, and that whole fund basically served to as the roll up. And so at the end, our token, which was Tau, which was to aim to find the balance between what's going on over here in Web3 and the sort of music industry, and is there a balance?
Yeah.
Launched at 11/1000% and rolled up at $1.27. Wow. We did all right for our people. And, we had this whole Bitcoin pool that was growing, and basically equal swap, 6 months, file your claim. I don't think there was literally 99% claimed. Maybe somebody lost a wallet or something. I don't know.
Right.
But it was pretty good. It was a pretty good test run for me, and it's now what drives and informs everything that I do going forward, because I saw what happened. So when we culminated that thing, and this is a really important factor, when we culminated this thing, we did it on ODB's 50th birthday party. And we did an event down in Brooklyn, and Wu-Tang came out, Busta Rhymes, Queen Latifah. It was amazing. Everybody came out, showed love. And the best part about it was, and I have all these pictures and videos from it, I still go back and watch it, because when I look through the crowd, all I see is young, primarily Black and brown faces that are true fans.
Yeah.
There wasn't a bro VIP section. There wasn't a buy your way to the top section. There wasn't you either were a token holder and you could be there and you participated in this ecosystem, or you didn't.
Damn. And what year was that for the 50th?
So we rolled that up in, was that 19? Yeah, I think 2019 was
wow.
I'll have to go pull that.
That's
video
amazing. Wow. I had heard about your connection to the ODB estate, but I didn't realize the Bitcoin and the kind of blockchain element that went back that far. That's amazing.
yeah, and through that, part of that was to help facilitate, the development of Young Dirty, which he didn't need any development. He is a superstar.
Wow.
He needed some resources and exposure,
Hmm.
right? But he is a natural born superstar.
That's amazing.
Interesting, there's a funny story about that, which is, um, you know, obviously Riz runs Woo, and you know, Young Dirty is kind of doing his thing, and he's coming along, and Riz says, why don't you come in and fill in on your dad's parts on this song here for us on this little performance, this little one-off performance, and that turned into, why don't you come for these couple more? And that turned into, why don't you come be on Good Morning America?
Wow.
And that turned into, come do our Tiny Desk concert with us. And that turned into, be a part of Wu Tang. And so now Young Dirty is the only official child of a founding Wu Tang member that is officially a Wu Tang
That's
member.
so awesome. And you helped make that possible, man. You helped make
It's
that possible.
incredible. I mean, we were a part of it for sure. I
Right.
mean, the kid, his, I say this about every artist that we work with. Their force is undeniable. That the ones that have gone on to be the name brand successes.
I don't know if your
We
Bluetooth
were,
headphones cutting out a little bit. You said
yeah,
undeniable.
yeah. Their force is undeniable,
Nice.
right? And I think for everybody that's involved in their journey, I think we're all lucky
No
to
doubt.
have been a part of those moments. Um, so yeah, I count my blessings and
Yeah.
all this. It's
And I mean,
great. It's
yeah.
great to have been a part of it. But and this is the same reason why, I'm very, like, I say this all the time in the rooms. Like, I've just covered a lot of the artists I work with. As you can imagine, my partner and I, we've worked with a lot more artists. You're
Mm-hmm.
never going to see any of their names on our profiles or anything like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
not our place to monetize off of their success. We respect, frankly, and appreciate having been a part of the journey, and frankly still having relationships with them.
Right.
So I think it's one of those things that I always look at, and I get it why people do it, but at the same time,
No, it's good. You keep it low key, but yeah, it's amazing. It's really inspiring, and I have to also plug your amazing blockchain gospel rooms that you have Monday to Friday every morning, pretty reliably. The music business red pill sessions that is
yeah,
actively helping musicians really understand the impact of Web3 and what can be done on the blockchain, and basically how to get into Web3, how to get their music on the blockchain, why it's an advantage to get their music on the blockchain and be able to sell directly peer to peer from yourself to your fans, no middle people, pure profits, and most importantly, building a genuine community of people that have direct access to you, which, how many people would pay lots of money for direct access to their favorite artist, right? But in this new
right,
Web3 world, that access is part of the advantage of buying the NFT. People know they're NFT collectors. Trust me, no matter how big
yeah,
the musician is, the musicians that are doing it the right way, that are on the ground, actually trying to like reach out to community and sell to community and build community through their NFTs, they know they're collectors. And just knowing that, just knowing you're helping them, knowing that you have that direct connection with them is like invaluable, really. For me, as someone who just loves music, like the latest one that Kane helped launch there with Tech, and after that conversation he had in a Twitter room, he had Money B there, he had Tech from Smith and Wesson there, and I felt the FOMO. I was like, oh, this is for hip hop, this is for the culture. Like, I need to grab one of these and like support Tech and like let them know this is what's up on the blockchain. So yeah,
yeah.
it's just really amazing. And
Well, and I
thank you
think
for
too,
hosting those rooms too, Hakeem. Those rooms are
yeah, I
amazing.
think, and the other thing about the red pill sessions, and I think it's important, is that we cover all aspects of this sort of industry and any questions someone might have. And so whether it's, things in the traditional realm of copyrights and song clearance or whatever. And the thing that I say is, this is not a zero-sum game right now. What I tell artists is that you need to put your first energy here and build your foundation here, but you cannot afford to neglect the Web2 framework and ecosystem right now if you're trying to, do things like get on tour or do things
Right.
like that.
Right.
But I think how you do that is important. I think understanding your value proposition in those ecosystems. I've had artists who have come back to me and tell me that they've, with that understanding of their value proposition of what they actually need out of each of these things,
Mhm.
they've saved themselves thousands of dollars from what they used to do and
Right.
got much more effective results.
Right.
So it's important to know your value proposition in all of the ecosystems and all of the social media platforms and all of the ways that you try to interact and engage and monetize your creativity. And so we get into all of it. I think
Yeah, it's
we go
amazing. So
we
that's
go
on
deep.
for any listeners out there not aware, that's on the Clubhouse app. You got to get Clubhouse, and then you got to join the Blockchain Gospel Club. And once you're in that club, you'll see the music business red pill sessions Monday to Friday. Was it 10 a.m. Eastern? I think no, 11 a.m. Eastern.
11 a.m.
Yeah,
Eastern,
yeah,
11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, and we try and be pretty consistent.
yeah.
The other thing I will add is that we are going to be expanding out into a couple of other platforms or mediums, but
Nice.
definitely that is homeroom. That's where we're going to be getting the deepest. That's where it's the thing I like about Clubhouse is that that's where it's the most interactive.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of the home
anyone
base, right?
out there, yeah, and so anyone out there who might be listening to this and think, I have some questions, and you might feel like it's a dumb question. No such thing. Okay, that's one of the rules over there in Blockchain
For
Gospel and
sure.
Neighborhood Jewelry, Kane's rooms. The other thing is that we're here for those questions, and we're here to hopefully provide an answer that changes your perspective on whether that was even a dumb question.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it makes you be more comfortable with asking the questions that you need answers to, that you can digest. And so we're here for that. That's
That's what it's
what we
all about.
do, and it'll always be the main one. We're doing a lot in that room and with that community. So
Yeah, now after hearing your backstory with the ODB and the collection there, it's clear you've been kind of educating people on blockchain for quite a while. And I thought you were more like me, where you stumbled into this revolution early last year, but you've been on it for, what, five
I
years
was,
now?
yeah,
Five, six.
I was Kane and Low in 2016. Uh,
Wow, that's dope.
you do that for about 4 or 5 years, and you start to fall back, and
Wow.
I think you get tired of hearing yourself say the same educational thing. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I still jump in when I'm asked or when it's called for, but there's so many other people that are doing such a great job that um, to me, it's really fulfilling. All of this, what's happening in the last few years, is super fulfilling. Think about, we burned a lot of money lobbying just to tell a bunch of schmucks that a token could be used as a utility.
Right.
In 2016, there was already NFTs and things happening. There was
Mm.
already this stuff happening. It's just
Wow.
nobody had actually, like, hey, look, guys, that's what you're proposing is not factually true.
Yeah.
Um,
And it took
and
until I
here's
think last
why.
year. It was only like last year they really started giving up on this like every token is a security thing. I think they
Yeah,
finally started to
yeah.
understand. Yeah,
Well,
it's wild.
the SEC spent the last few years hiring actual people who understand this, but
Right, right.
but the other thing is that if you look at where we are today, right, where, man, the stuff we were doing as far as the outreach and the education was real scarce, real sparse. And there's not a lot of people out there, and not even a lot of curiosity as there is now, obviously. I think the other thing is that now you're seeing a lot of effective use cases
Yeah.
of NFTs and application of NFTs in a lot of different ways, utilities, artwork, otherwise. Um, I think it's important for musicians and artists of all walks, not to get hung up on the utility game.
Yeah.
I make the argument all the time that music and even visual painted art, drawn art, whatever, those are some of the oldest utilities in the world. There's a
Right.
reason that we've had decades, centuries old galleries. And there's a reason that, the Chapel Music Publishing Company, who was part of that's Warner Chapel, that's where I work,
Right.
the, they're over 200 years old.
Wow. That's wild,
When
actually. That's
you
wild to
onboard
think
and
about.
oh, listen, when you onboard in Chapel, you get to watch this cool little archival thing. And in their archives, one of the things you see that should blow everybody's mind who's ever seen it, but most people breeze by it. There's a handwritten publishing agreement, the very first publishing agreement between Chapel Music and Beethoven.
What?
Man,
That's wild.
when you look at that, and then you look at the mess we're in today, and you understand that, I mean, it's amazing what was created by creating the publishing industry. It's really good for creators. It's really cool. The corporatization and monetization, all the things that happen as that starts to grow,
Kind of cannibalized
then
itself.
yeah, right. Well, what happens is the same thing that happened with NFTs, right?
Mm,
For every great use case, there's 10 rug pulls.
right. Of course. Of course.
Right. And so this is the same across the music industry, right? For every one person like me, there's 9 people out there that want to just get you under contract and take advantage of you any way that they can.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It's the gold rush, man.
But
It's
it's
all
why
just the
it's
gold rush. Everything that's old is new again.
and that's what's pushing
And
people to innovate, right? It's like people are kind
yeah,
of frustrated and sick of it, right? That's
yeah.
awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
going forward, this is actually a great point to the other thing you brought up. Listen, for artists, this is why you build your foundation here. This is the one place where the relationship between you and your fan, your hardcore fan that's really going to support you and help propel you to anything else that you want to do, you own that relationship. You own it through this direct peer-to-peer tokenization. But like David said, these people, once you've been around for a while and you've been a creator for a while, you know your collectors. You know who holds your. I recently just did. As long as I've been in this space, I recently just launched my first NFT collection. I know everybody who's bought one so
Yeah,
far.
we're going to talk about it.
Right, and so like you will grow to know these people, and what's really going to happen that's fascinating, and I think it's to the creator's advantage, is that these people almost become your trust, your think tank. Your they are how you develop and accelerate things from here to the outside. And then the other thing is that there's 2 unique responsibilities that I really need to stress. One, do NFTs on chains and ecosystems that you're comfortable with communicating to your collectors, because you are going to speak to your fans, and some of them are going to come from over there, over here.
Yeah,
And you have a responsibility beyond the transaction that they understand how to protect themselves, protect their wallet, move around and not click links and all of that stuff. That's really important.
for sure.
And the other side of this, and I don't want artists to ignore this, is that at the same time, you have to be a bridge for the people that should be here but aren't here yet. And sometimes that's not necessarily your fans. Maybe that's somebody you collaborate with often,
Mm,
somebody you cross paths with often doing local shows, and you go, wow, I'm getting a little traction here. Be dope if he was over here too. He's built for this stuff.
yeah.
And be a bridge and help build a better economy overall. If you don't just focus on your transactions, you will do better here for
That's
sure.
what's up. That's what's up. NFT community is a real thing. And, you could think of it, if you want to take a kind of economic or monetary lens at it, how much do people pay for market research, right? And think about the level of like real market research that you're getting from the community base that you build out through NFTs. And that's not just people who purchase your NFTs. You can actually build out a broader
Yep.
community within a Discord server and incentivize the NFT purchase, but still kind of grow an actual online digital community even beyond just the NFTs. But because you have the NFT project, it's bringing people in, and like people are getting more curious and like, oh, what's this guy building here? So it's another way to build your community even beyond just the financial transaction of selling an NFT to a fan. There's a whole kind of community and ecosystem that also, you know, kind of grows around those projects, right? So
Yeah,
I do want to.
and
Yeah,
the
sorry.
NFT. Wait, real quick. The NFT provides you another really cool thing too, which is, say you got a fan who doesn't own your NFT yet, but man, they tweet and share everything you do, and they like every post, and that's
Exactly.
fan sweat equity. Reward them. Give them a free NFT.
Hey, there you go. Nice. That's what's up. All right. So on the topic of the NFTs, I do want to get to your cool magic mushrooms collection, and what you're doing with it, what your plan is. I know you've got some really cool kind of thoughts around rewarding your collectors. And I also think you spoke about it being kind of timed, right? I think they end in 5 days. I'm curious as
Yeah,
to
yeah.
why you've
So
taken
the
that
first
approach.
round,
Yeah.
so the first round of sales is 200 of them out there. We're selling it. You know, I'm going to sell as many as I can, basically for until the end of the month. And then we're going to close the sales off, and then we're going to focus from September 1st till the end of the year on documenting and sharing as many stories as we can about how we're able to utilize these to create a better fan relationship, sort of fan creator relationship. And then we're exploring all of the different ways that we can utilize community and NFTs and Web3 with music. And, I have a huge music catalog of unreleased music. We're going to be doing some cool collaborative stuff where if you own the NFT, if you own one of my NFTs or one of the other artists that are on these project NFTs, you'll be able to get this NFT for free. We're going to be doing some cool stuff where we're going to be offering up. So we do have physical items. One of the things I really want to document is for artists is how they can engage sort of phygital, right? So physical and digital, so that cross that divide. To that end, I've been again collaborating with the Old Dirty Bastard Estates. We had some stuff left over from when we rolled that project up. So we have a handful of Fender guitars, real playable guitars. You can plug them in. I've used them on a bunch of beats. We have one a month that we're going to give away till the end of the year. We have classic out of print vinyl. We've got a handful of it's the D&D Project 2, features a bunch of legendary names. If you like 90s hip hop, like
No doubt.
you're probably gonna want this
Clearly, I got to
project.
get in on the
Uh,
shrooms, man.
yeah, we got that on vinyl and CD. We're gonna be doing a bunch of giveaways on that. One of the other interesting things that sort of coincided with this is that I was able to get all of my father's merchandising rights cleared from a bunch of holdover legacy relationships. So we have some Ray Draper merch that we've created. I'm also working on a deal to be able to reissue one of his albums that was released limited in Europe only. I'm
Wow.
trying to do a deal where we can reissue that and do a limited run of vinyl. I only want to do like 1,000 of them.
That's super cool.
Um, yeah, right. And then just have it be a very limited run of vinyl. We'll probably do if we can get that deal done, we would probably carve out about 25% of them for giveaways within the NFT community. The other ones we'll figure out something cool to tie them into. And then the other thing that we're doing that's going to be tied into the giveaways, and actually we haven't really announced this yet, so this is the first time we're talking about it, is we're working with our partners at Soulful of Noise. Soulful of Noise. So
Soulful
if
of
you are,
noise. All right.
yeah, so if you are around the Los Angeles area or would like to be around the Los Angeles area for some live music events, we are going to be giving away a bunch of free passes to Soulful of Noise events. And to give you guys, you can look it up. Soulfulofnoise.com is their website. Check them out on YouTube. It is a house band with a bunch of really talented emerging artists. It's a rotating roster of emerging artists. The caveat is pretty much everybody plays with the house band.
Wow.
So it makes for a really cool, curated, kind of unique experience. And so, yeah, we're working with them to do some giveaways. Plus, we're putting together a festival next year with them. So, obviously, for us, we're looking at ways of how we tie in, like the shroom holders obviously would get passes to the festival. But also, we want to be able to extend that out and start to tie in on some of the partnerships that we're doing within the community, right? So, if we do, let's just say, for example, a collab I want to do with a beat that I made, and then Kane Mayfield and Low Sleazy. So if you own a Low Sleazy NFT, or if you own a Kane Mayfield NFT, or if you own one of my magic mushrooms, you would get this track automatically. You would get it as an NFT. It would be dropped to you, and you get a downloadable copy. And then at the same time, those holders would be able to get discounts or something like that on the festival. So we're still putting some of the pieces
Very
together,
cool.
but the partnership is done. We know, well, I actually know how many passes I have to give away, and I have their calendar. So I will be getting into that starting September 1st. The magic mushrooms, if you go to my Twitter or Instagram, there's basically a with Koji link, which is like a link tree thing. If you go in there, the magic mushrooms are linked. So is the Boogie Shack and the Boogie Shack Renaissance City gallery build,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
we'll jump
pretty
into there
cool.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing. Definitely check it out on the Twitter. You got a pinned tweet there too with guitar. I think you're giving away, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's
That has, I think, the guitar and even some of the vinyl we show. Yeah. So the D&D project, and yeah, we're and for me, look, a lot of this we're looking to convey in as many ways that are digestible as possible. So we're working with a group, a partner of ours called Jam Mob, that basically has a curated community of independent artists. We'll be publishing all of our stuff through there. We're also working with our partner marketing agency, and we're going to work with some of their TikTokers, and they're going to take some of these things that we're going to write up and digest them down into TikTokable,
wow.
events. And so what I want to do is I really just want to magnify the, hey, you artist out there who's thinking about doing this, you could do this. And, listen, for those who don't know, all the things, and I've had some great things happen in my life, and I've been pretty blessed. I've also had some pretty terrible things happen. One of being that I am literally having to rebuild my entire life from the ground up, financially and otherwise, right now. So when I tell you that all of this stuff is stuff you can do, we haven't spent a lot of money on any of this.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't laid out a ton of cash. Everything we've done is bootstrapped and to the point of proof of concept. And then at that point, it's usually not that hard to get some kind of support. And then you get to write your ticket on what kind of support, so you don't have to take all the slimy VC money.
Right, right. I'd love to hit
So,
on that a little bit because I think in the space, definitely in music, but and maybe coming from the industry, it's a little bit easier for you, or you just have experience. Whether it's applying for grants or just knowing where to kind of get that money. But it
no, it's
does
still
come.
hard.
Yeah, it's still hard, right? It's still hard. And when
Yeah.
you talk about proof of concept, like that's proof of concept with a business plan, with a budget, with everything kind of fully ironed out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and all of those things, those things aren't always in the same order, right?
Mm,
Like, look, as an artist, maybe you just start with fan, right, community, and a small NFT collection,
right.
and then kind of figure out how to grow from there. Because what's going to happen is maybe somebody in your NFT community is going to say, "Hey, do you have a Discord?" And you're going to be like, "No, not yet." And they're going to be like, "Well, do you want one?
Mm,
I can help you set it up." That's what's happening here in Web3.
mm-hmm.
In Web3, this is the big difference, and this is important, right? Right now in Web2, the music ecosystem specifically, everything someone can offer to do to you comes at a tremendous cost. So either it's a tremendous upfront fee, a percentage of your earnings or your masters or your ownership, or some combination of all of those, or some kind of exclusivity, and sometimes it's a combination of all the things I just talked about.
Right.
That's Web2 music business services, right? Now over here, it's very different. over here in Web3, what's happening and what we're witnessing over the last 2 years is this guy makes music and he doesn't even make art. Music, Kane's a perfect example. Kane
Right.
Mayfield.
Right.
Look up Kane Mayfield is a perfect example of he makes music. He didn't even know how to make art. And then somebody told him, do you know what GAN art is? And then he went, what's that? And he went down the rabbit hole and started learning about GAN art.
Mm-hmm.
From there, he butchers together using the most archaic software that's out there, like Microsoft Paint and all the stuff that's free, right? And he takes all these GAN pictures and he puts them all together and he makes these video mashups and he puts it to songs and he makes NFTs and he starts to figure out how to build community. And then somebody in the community goes, you need a website for that. I do websites. Let me do your website. And you go, boom, and now you got your website up. And then, oh, you need this. Hey, we do this. Why don't you come be a guest on our show? This is how things start building. The services that you're paying for over there, they're coming to you organically over here, and they believe in you, right? They don't, and this is a really key difference. When people want to work with you, like we've just discussed,
Mm-hmm.
versus the Web 2 way. The Web 2 way, I'm concerned that your payment clears. The Web 3 way, man, I'm really interested in seeing you succeed. I think I can help you, and I think I could probably grow with you.
That's everything.
That's a huge difference.
And it goes to something we hit on in this show almost every episode, and that is taking abundance over scarcity, And I think that
Yes.
Web 2 and really that traditional economic viewpoint and really the traditional kind of American capitalist kind of viewpoint, it was all about scarcity. And even in NFTs, right, there's kind of fake scarcity and artificial scarcity that's created, and they use that to kind of gain value. But aside from that, when you actually look at the economy and what's happening in the Web3 space, like you just said, it's abundance mindset, right? That person who reaches out saying, hey, do you want me to build your Discord for you? Yes, they genuinely like what you're doing. They genuinely want to help you succeed, but they are also hoping, when you succeed, if they're your Discord mod, if they helped you set up your Discord, you're naturally going to be a part of that team, right? You're going to help, the Discord grow. And Discord is huge in NFTs. If you don't know, you need, you don't need, but eventually if you want to grow the community to a kind of critical mass, Discord will help you get that done, and will do it in a kind of very technologically savvy way where you can actually have token gated sections of your Discord server and really reward your community and have kind of token holder corners of your Discord and then broader, sections of your Discord for everyone else in the broader community. So just throwing that out there, Discord is really helpful for community management.
Yeah, and I would add, if you're not super comfortable with Discord, look, we all have to evolve when new technology and new apps come out. There are a couple of ecosystems that are being built that are aiming to knock off Discord in this space. I think it's completely possible because Discord really is built for gamers, and I think what it does for gamers in the gaming community is fantastic. But I think, as we've seen, and Discord itself is great, but the third-party plugins and validators and some of those things have obviously shown that they struggle to keep up with the security needs of Web3.
It's difficult.
And
it's more that the scammers find ways, scammers find their ways.
Yeah, for sure. But I also think that some of the new architecture and ecosystems that are being built to sort of challenge that for Web3 purposes are more organically Web3, and thereby, have better, they're just I think, and listen, I have no affiliation with, there's two that I know about. One that I have high hopes for because of some of the people that are involved. James Andrews is one of the people. And I have high hopes for it. I think it could actually be a really, really good ecosystem and platform.